Welcome back to the Success in Trucking podcast, powered by ES. And thanks for connecting with us again. In this edition of the podcast, we'll be introducing a new regular feature from ES. Our Spotlight on Success series will be placing a spotlight on members of the ES community. And for our first Spotlight on Success, we'll be spending some time with two longtime members of the ES community, Michelle and Gary Piatt. As you'll hear, Michelle and Gary became part of the ES community over a decade ago. From their earliest days, Michelle and Gary learned that the team at ES lived up to the company's motto of never stand alone. Through the years, Michelle and Gary have taken the time to share what they have experienced as part of the ES community, and they have lost count of how many people they have told to contact ES. For our interview, we caught up with Michelle and Gary through a Zoom connection while they were on home time in West Tennessee. Michelle and Gary Piatt join us now on the Success in Trucking podcast. Michelle and Gary, it's great to have you on. Tell us how things are going.
It's going very well, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you found your way to the trucking industry.
Well, let's see. I was a police officer and decided to leave the department. I really don't know how we came up with the idea of getting into trucking, but...
Yeah, I think it was just kind of a fun conversation talking about what we might do next. My idea of trucking, because I had no idea, was that you stay in hotels every night and it's like a fun road trip. And I had no idea, no idea. And that was a long time ago. That was
October 2004.
Yeah. Gary had some experience trucking before that, and I had none. So I actually went out with a trainer, probably was 3.5 weeks, and had no idea what I was getting into. I mean, I just jumped into it. We first started working with US Express, stayed with them for about 3.5 years. And then we moved to Pennsylvania, and there was a local company there, Zimmerman Truck Lines, and we drove with them for about 3.5 years also. And then we kind of were getting tired of being on the road, so we quit with Zimmerman. Gary got a local route with an actual union company, and I got a part-time job at a hospital. We did that for a few years, and then I wanted to move back to Tennessee. And we were like, well, what are we going to do for jobs in Tennessee? So Gary's mom knew somebody who actually worked for FedEx Custom Critical. Apparently, they really liked the job and everything. So we just kind of looked into it, and we've been there 11 years.
See, you thought she was going to be quiet.
Well, once I started, I couldn't stop.
She's given us the great backstory. Connecting with FedEx Custom Critical, is that the point that you guys learned about the ES community, Expediter Services? Tell us that part of the story, if you will.
We contacted Custom Critical and spoke with somebody there. I don't think we knew you had to own the truck, but we talked to them and they said about buying a truck. They were very familiar with Expediter Services and told us about how we could use them. I guess Expediter Services are the ones that told us about the company that would finance a truck. So we ended up buying a used truck first. Little backstory on that. The very first load we hauled with it, we broke down, had to be towed. We nicknamed that truck Titanic. Like I said, the very first load we broke down, and we went to pay for the bill, and they wouldn't take debit card. So I called Jeff Tacker at Expediter Services, and I was beside myself, didn't know what we were going to do. And he said, Gary, calm down, just hand the phone to the guy behind the counter. So I did, and then a little bit later, the guy hands the phone back, and Jeff says, everything's taken care of. You're good to go. I said, what do you mean? He says, it's taken care of. So our very first load with Expediter Services, they paid for our truck repair, and each settlement took a little bit out until it was paid off.
And I know you've been part of the ES community now for 11 years, if you've said. You know that the company's motto is never stand alone, and you guys experienced that on your first load.
Yes, sir. They've helped us out so much. I'm so appreciative of what they've done. We had cards to hand out for people, and we're supposed to put our names on them. And I have no idea how many people we referred to Expediter Services. I can't remember the girl's name that worked there who was our contact. She kept telling me, you need to put your name on the card so we can give you a referral bonus. But I was so grateful for everything they did. I just was pleased to get more drivers for them, and I wouldn't even put my name on. So one time she actually sent us a bunch of new cards, and she had my information on because she knew I wasn't going to do it.
After 7 months with Titanic, we decided to sell that truck, and we drove for Expediter Services for a year while we had a new truck built. So we actually drove for Expediter Services for a year.
Just so folks know that are listening, you guys were running as contract drivers within the trucks that they have. And again, Expediter Services is not a motor carrier. And the benefit of that, as we've talked on the podcast before and with other folks, is that you're captaining your ship, you're running a business. At the same time, you don't have some of the weight of that business is not necessarily on you because you're in that contract status. But then when you go in and run your own business again, Expediter Services is right with you.
Yes, and there's a huge amount that you don't have on you. With Expediter Services, when we're driving their truck, if we had to buy windshield washer fluid, all we did was email them the receipt, and our very next settlement, we were reimbursed for it. There's zero out of pocket doing that. And I'm sure you're familiar with their PTO program that they have.
Yes.
It's such a great company, and they really want everybody involved with them to be successful.
I think one of the biggest hurdles that anybody who you see on the road or you've recommended, and you tell them about this program, and if they've been in trucking for 10 minutes, they know that there's always a gap between what you say and what you experience. So can you talk about the fact that what they do at ES meets expectations and oftentimes goes beyond it?
Absolutely go beyond. They were always there for us, and if we needed them to take care of it and get reimbursed, they always have. And even now, we have the program through them for the tires. So when we get tires, they pay for it and take it out of our settlement each time. So that really helps out, especially for somebody who's just getting started in the owner-operator portion of it. You don't start out with a lot of money. You're going to have problems, and Expediter Services just stands behind you 100%.
Michelle, what does it mean to you to have ES behind you?
It's very important. Just knowing that if you do have a problem and it's beyond your control, that they're there to help you. And not only that, they're very friendly. Anytime we have might have missed something on our settlement or whatever, I send an email, and usually within an hour, I've got an answer to whatever our problem is and stuff. I just like not having forced dispatch.
Yes.
That is the best thing ever, because I remember with that forced dispatch was just crazy. Our motto was don't make plans, because you couldn't make plans for anything, not even catching a meal. It was just a crazy life to live when you have forced dispatch. And the way we are now is just so sweet. If it's something either we're too tired to do, or it's just something that we don't want to go to that part of the country, or like right now, I wouldn't go to Minnesota, things like that. But that's been really good. I think that's definitely one of the pros. And even if you're a contract driver with them, you don't have forced dispatch, right, which is sweet for them.
Sure. What I'm hearing is that a couple things. You guys are truly business owners. You're determining your own direction. You're running your own P&L. You've got them beside you. You guys are really working at it as partners in a way, because you're able to talk to ES, you're able to talk to FedEx, CC. Everybody's on the same team. You guys are essentially determining your own fate, running the truck, being profitable the way that you want to do it.
Absolutely.
What does that mean to you guys?
Being owner-operators now, we're able to choose, like Michelle said, choose our loads, choose where we want to go. And we've used that to our advantage on numerous occasions. We've been able to visit family in different parts of the country that we would never have been able to do under other circumstances. Since we're owner-operators, we can take off whenever we choose. So if we get by, say, Michelle's dad's place out in California, and we're not under a load or going to pick up a load, and we want to take a few days off and see him, we do. It's just so much more freedom.
And the other thing is we have a straight truck versus a tractor trailer, and that is the sweetest thing ever. We can go pretty much anywhere we want to go. If we need to do some shopping or we want to go to a certain restaurant, we're not stuck at the truck stop. That's been a really good thing too. And plus I can back up a lot better than I could with a tractor trailer. So I don't have to wake him up and say, help me.
Those trucks, very nice, very well appointed.
Well, it's like a mini RV. We have the bed that folds up and pulls up a table and 2 bench seats, and like an apartment sized refrigerator and a convection microwave, hot water heater,
kitchen counter, a sink, and hot and cold running water.
A pretty good sized TV in there. A lot of times on weekends, we might not have a run. So we'll just use the bed as kind of like a day bed and sit on there and watch TV. And it's very convenient and handy.
Gary, you talked about this a little bit. You guys have done a good number of referrals because you believe in the program. So talk to us about those conversations, particularly the part where you're having to explain, like, no, they really do what they say they do. Has anybody called you who's checked out the program and then joined it?
I have had some that contact me, usually by email. We've definitely had people that we referred that joined the ES community.
How do those conversations go?
We explained to them about the non-forced dispatch and the amount of money that you can earn, the freedom that you have being, as you said, your own ship's captain, even when you're driving one of the ES trucks. We always explain the PTO program to the people, and they're usually very excited about that.
And the thing that usually strikes the conversation is they're interested in the truck.
Yes.
Because even though we're real familiar with them, some places you don't see a lot of the straight trucks out there. So that's what most people come up and they're very curious about the truck.
I guess final question is, 11 years ago when you guys made the decision to move and then get back into trucking, did it meet your expectations or did it go beyond your expectations?
And once we got our own truck, we were really like, okay, this is going to work. This is sweet. And once we got our own truck, and the best part was once we got the truck paid for, the financial end of it just started getting sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. Now our truck is older. We're planning on retiring in another year. So we're babying this truck and making sure all the maintenance is up to date constantly. And we kind of go overboard on that. So we got another year. But once that truck is paid for, if you work hard and you like working, it's sweet. It's very sweet. So we're super happy about that part. But like I said, at the beginning, it was really rough. We powered through it. And now we're happy we made the decision.
Well, and if I can interject here, I think one of the reasons that you're laughing is that you know that you got through it and you had somebody at your side in ES that helped you get through it, that was not going to allow you to fail. They went through the woods with you together. I'm sure throughout that whole 7-month process, they were not only saying that, hey, we're with you, but they were showing you that they were.
Sure, absolutely. I don't think if we were with somebody else, we would have made it through that time. But like I said, we powered through it and it all worked out fantastic.
Well, like you said, you guys have had a wonderful 11-year, looking at 12-year run. Look where it's positioned you financially. You guys are both smiling, happy. You don't see that every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're real happy. Especially the last couple of years has been really, really good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's our interview with Michelle and Gary Piatt on this edition of the Success in Trucking Podcast, powered by ES. We would like to take this opportunity to thank both Michelle and Gary for their time and perspective. Now, folks, if you'd like to learn more about the programs and opportunities available from ES, we would like to invite you to visit the company's website, essuccessintrucking.com. That web address again is essuccessintrucking.com. Once again, we'd like to thank you for spending part of your day with us here on the Success in Trucking Podcast, powered by ES.